All right, we are live, everyone. Welcome to the Bleav in Jets podcast. Right now, live on YouTube as we get ready for a huge Jets Bills game. Everyone get in here. We're talking Jets Bills. I definitely want to see some comments. I want to take questions. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff in here today, so I can't wait to get into all of it. Pretty crazy. So the Jets last week has felt like a month, right? It's felt like this whole week since they left from London, all the different things that happened, and more news today with Hassan Reddick. So many things going on with the Jets. And yet today, the season starts today for the New York Jets. And it's a huge day in New York sports as the Mets have a playoff game that starts at 4 p.m. Eastern. The Yankees have a playoff game that starts at 7:30, both the AL and NLCS today. And then the Jets wrap it up at home on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. They're going to be wearing the throwbacks, which I'm not wearing mine right now. Bleav, that's on you. He was supposed to send me his jersey that matches the jerseys that they wear tonight, the new Jets jersey. So I was going to wear the Bleav jersey, but I'm not wearing it right now. But again, I'm trying to get some people in here, talk Jets. But definitely comment below. We want to do that. And then also, in addition to some of the comments, if anyone wants to join maybe a little bit later, I'll drop a link in there where you can join and kind of do like a call-in segment. I could add people one at a time, and we could talk that way as well. That would be kind of cool. So everybody get in here. We'll talk Jets. It's going to be fun. Jets Bills. Monday Night Football. It's huge. And it's a rematch of last year's game. Obviously, the Jets and the Bills. That was the home opener. That was, everyone knows, the famous home opener. Aaron Rodgers running out with the flag, 4 plays in. We all know the story. I was at WFAN last year when it happened. I'll be at WFAN again tonight. So the juju for me is going to be a little bit off. I already am having PTSD waiting for this game. But I'm excited because it's a new beginning. Despite everything that's happened, the Jets play for first place tonight. The season starts tonight. I don't care all the different things that happened, whether it's the head coach, the offensive play caller, all the narratives in the media, Hassan Reddick and his hiring his new agent, which we'll get into all of that. Still, the Jets have an opportunity tonight to be in first place with plenty of season left to go. So there's so many ways we could, same old Jets, dysfunction, all that stuff. Sure. But why wait till it was too late to fire the head coach? Why wait till after the Buffalo game, after a loss? We've seen this team come out flat so many freaking times under Rob Saleh. Why wait? The new coach bump is a real thing. I expect the Jets to come out with their head on fire. I expect Aaron Rodgers, he's talked in the media, this is on me. I take this personally. This is, if I played better, we don't fire the head coach. If we do better, we don't fire. All the things that Rodgers has said, I expect him to come out with his head on fire and come out ready to rock and roll, come out excited for this game, come out wanting to prove a point. And the entire Jets team should feel the same way. This is a division opponent. This is a team you've actually done well against, one of the best players in the league, one of Aaron's best friends in Josh Allen in the league. So I'm sure Rodgers wants to come out head on fire. And I talk about the new coach bump. This is a real thing. The last 22 games where we've seen a new head coach, an interim head coach after a coach was fired in season. Now, a couple things to remember here. These teams, generally, if you're firing your head coach in season, because I've seen a lot of people talk about no team to ever fire their head coach in season has made the playoffs. Yeah, no shit. Those are terrible teams. You know when you see it, people say, no team to start 0-3 has ever made the playoffs. Only 20% of teams to start 0-3 make the playoffs. Yeah, because teams that start 0-3 suck. So those 20% that end up making the playoffs were the good teams of the teams that start 0-3. The rare good team that starts 0-3 makes the playoffs. When a bad team starts on 0-3, of course they don't make the playoffs. Once in a while, a good team will start 0-3. They'll have a couple of mistakes early on, and then they'll still make the playoffs. That's the 20%. So when they come up with these numbers, only 20% of teams who start 0-3 make the playoffs. Yeah, no shit. So all teams who fire their head coach in season never make the playoffs because those are usually bad teams. Those are teams that early in the season were terrible, and then they fire that coach usually later in the year when it's too late. Teams fire their head coach when they're 1-7, 1-8. Teams don't generally fire their head coach this early. with this good a roster. And Robert Saleh, credit to him, he's talked about, hey, I'm still rooting for these guys. I think they could accomplish great things. And I love that. He seems like a genuinely great dude. He's going to get a defensive coordinator job somewhere else. And maybe down the line, he gets a head coaching job and he's actually good at it. He wasn't good at it here. Now, do I wish the Jets made a move earlier, especially after watching Harbaugh yesterday? Like, he leaves for like a medical situation and then comes right back, coaches the game. And then after the game, he's like, I'm 2-0 against arrhythmia, which is like the arrhythmic heartbeat or whatever that he had that he was dealing with. So crazy. That's the guy that we could have got if we just fired the coach 8 months ago. Like I said on the live reaction episode I did with Bleav, like, you had an opportunity to fire the head coach 8 months ago and hire any one of those head coaches and bring in a new infrastructure, new system in the offseason. So if you were on the fence about the head coach 8 months ago, why didn't you fire him then? Anyway, makes no sense to me. That's besides the point. Now we move forward with the new head coach. So these teams generally, and again, generally teams who are firing their head coach midseason are terrible teams that don't go on to make the playoffs. The only time a team has had an interim head coach make the playoffs was Rich Bisaccia with the Raiders. And we've seen a couple of examples with the Raiders the last couple of years where Bisaccia came in and made the playoffs with them. Now, he came in for a resigned head coach, not a fired head coach. That's why people don't include that one. John Gruden had resigned, not been fired, asked to resign, but still. And then Antonio Pierce also had a bump. So the Raiders have had it a couple times in the last few years where the interim head coach makes the team look significantly better. But in the last 22 games, the first game after a team fires their head coach, last 22 times this happened, that first game, teams are 13-9. And again, these are bad teams with losing records. The fact that they're 13-9 in those games speaks volumes. And of the 9 losses, 3 of them were by 3 points or less. So most of these teams who fire their head coach the next game, they come out on fire. They usually win. And 3 of the 6 times that they didn't win, they actually kept it within a field goal. So I expect the Jets to come out strong, come out on fire. And that's something you can never say. For all the great things that Saleh did, you could talk about his defense. That's it, pretty much. You could talk about his defense, and the guys liked him. So 2 things that Saleh did that were great. For all that, how many times do we have to see the same penalties, the team come out flat, the same mistakes over and over and over again? We've seen that 1,000 times with this Jets team under Robert Saleh. I expect them to start fast. Even Jeff Saturday, who was proven out to be a terrible head coach, and that was a terrible Indianapolis team, and he was coming off working on TV. He wasn't prepared to be a head coach. He wasn't qualified to be a head coach. This isn't a guy who's been on sidelines in the NFL for the last bunch of years the way Jeff Ulbrich has. Even Jeff Saturday won his first game as a head coach. Sucked after that, but got that first game bump. And he was a terrible head coach. So the idea that the Jets shouldn't win tonight, and by the way, the numbers bear it out. The Jets have moved now to only +1.5. They're -102 to win the game. And we'll talk about some of the bets and some of the lines a little bit later. Bet Online, sponsor, shout out. So we'll get into some of that, but the way the Jets have to come out and control this game, it has to be from the start. Control the game in the trenches. Morgan Moses is coming back for the Jets. Todd Downing is now the offensive play caller. He is known for his run scheme that he ran in Tennessee. Now, granted, he had Derrick Henry there, but guess what? You have Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, 2 guys who have proven to be pretty good running backs in this league for the Jets this year. So I expect the Jets to come out and run the ball. You have Morgan Moses back, who is great in the run game, and they've missed him the last couple of weeks, and I think that's been a big part of why they've struggled protecting Rodgers. They've struggled in the run game. I expect the run game to have a huge boost. The Bills have been bad against the run this year. And then think about this. The Bills' best run stopper and maybe best defensive player is Ed Oliver, and he's out for this game. The Jets have to come out, control the line of scrimmage, run the damn ball. And I'm tired of hearing the narratives about this Jets team regarding Todd Downing, because it was, oh, how are you firing the head coach after only 5 weeks? That's crazy. Just because he wanted to replace the offensive play caller, Nate Hackett sucks. And he wanted to replace Nate Hackett with Todd Downing, so you fired him. And then they turn around when they fire Hackett and like, oh, how could you bring in Todd Downing? He's not good. He hasn't done anything. So which one is it? The Jets are idiots for firing Todd Downing or for firing Robert Saleh and not hiring Todd Downing instead of Hackett. They're idiots for hiring Todd Downing after firing Saleh. Like, it's always same old Jets, LOL Jets. That's what the media, that's the narrative that they want to push. At some point, the Jets have to break out of that. At some point, maybe they're not as dumb as we think. And while I do think that we don't know what Jeff Ulbrich is, he's an unknown. Sure. But what he's shown is that he's a tough guy. He's a football guy. And Woody Johnson, this is a crazy story. Woody Johnson actually didn't want to hire. He wanted to fire him from Saleh's staff a couple of years ago. He really didn't like that. For some reason, he didn't like that Jeff Ulbrich was on the staff. Now, I don't know why Woody Johnson, this is part of the problem. This is actually the problem with the Jets. Woody Johnson runs everything. So his brother hires Joe Douglas, but Joe Douglas doesn't hire the head coach. Generally, when a team is good, and look, this can happen, right? How about the New York Knicks, for example? They've been terrible for years. Dolan, meddling, all that stuff. Dolan gets out of the way, and all of a sudden they're great. He says, okay, I'm handing over the franchise to Wes and Leon Rose. You guys now run the show. I'm going to go stand on the side. Let me know when you need my money. It's your show now. All of a sudden, the Knicks are a functional organization. Hand the keys to Tibbs, to Rose, to Wes. What Woody Johnson does is, his brother's running the team. He hires Joe Douglas. Then Woody comes back. Oh, all right, I'm back. I want to hire this head coach. Shouldn't the general manager, Joe Douglas, be the one to hire the head coach, hire the staff? It should be a streamlined thing. The GM, the coach, the coordinators, the players should all be on the same page. We have none of that. Woody wants Aaron Rodgers, so he goes and gets Aaron Rodgers. Woody wants Zach Wilson, so he tells them to draft Zach Wilson. Woody wants Robert Saleh. Joe Douglas, hire Robert Saleh. Woody doesn't want Robert Saleh anymore. Fire Robert Saleh. So a couple of years ago, apparently Woody was going to tell Robert Saleh to fire his own defensive coordinator because he didn't like him. He wanted to fire Jeff Ulbrich. Until the 49ers inquired about Jeff Ulbrich when they lost D'Amico Ryans to the head coaching job last year to Houston. They inquired about Jeff Ulbrich, and then Woody was like, oh, wait, a functional organization with a good franchise and good leadership wants my defensive coordinator? Oh, wait, maybe he is a good football coach. So it's yet to be seen. They also loved Robert Saleh, and Robert Saleh is not the same guy. And maybe in his next stop, he will be the same guy he was. But clearly, Robert Saleh as a DC was not the same guy as a head coach. As a DC running up and down the sideline, getting in guys' faces, fired up. That's what we thought we were getting. And then we got the stone-faced guy who just loiters on the sideline, sourpuss face the whole time. We know the story with Robert Saleh. But the Jets being so dumb to think that we're going to fire the defensive coordinator, go around our head coach to fire the defensive coordinator. But now that San Francisco clearly proves that they like him, we'll keep him around. So Woody Johnson, just get out of the way. Just let the football people do their jobs. That's my Woody Johnson piece for a second. But it's a really interesting story with Jeff Ulbrich, how he got into coaching. He told this story. If he's at least won the first two press conferences. The first press conference, he talked about accountability. He talked about sitting up straight in meetings. What I mentioned on last episode with Bilal Powell, I said, hey, you have to feet straight on the ground, get a pencil in your hand, be ready, be prepared, start on time, start fast. Him saying all those things kind of told me that that's not what was going on under Robert Saleh. Maybe there was a little bit of a, circus. Maybe it was a free-for-all under Robert Saleh. Inmates running the asylum. So now, under Jeff Ulbrich, it seems like there's a little bit of a heightened intensity. And the players are on notice. They're put on notice now. Oh my God, I'm not safe. Look around the room. We're making big changes. We're trying to salvage the season. Either get on board or don't. But we're not going to take the same old penalties. We're not going to take the slow starts. I don't expect that stuff. I expect the Jets to look a lot better in this game. And what Jeff Ulbrich talked about, and I love this story, he talked about wanting to become a coach, how he never thought he was going to get into coaching. Till the end of his career, he was playing for the Niners. And when he was playing for the Niners, they drafted a young Patrick Willis. And Patrick Willis, one of the best linebackers. It's so funny. Some teams are just great at having certain positions. The Ravens and the Niners both, always great off-ball linebackers, right? So you think about Fred Warner's the best off-ball linebacker. I can't talk right now. Fred Warner's the best off-ball linebacker in football, right? He plays for the Niners. The other one of the best off-ball linebackers is Roquan Smith, plays for the Ravens. Think about those two teams. Previously, they had Patrick Willis and obviously Ray Lewis. So some franchises just have a certain style and toughness to them, like the Ravens and the Niners, always going to have great off-ball linebackers. So when Patrick Willis was first drafted to the 49ers, Jeff Ulbrich was the backup linebacker, and he said he would work with Pat, and he said he'd just talk to him, and they'd work on plays. And every time Pat made a big play in a game, he'd look over on the sideline and just lock eyes with Jeff Ulbrich and just kind of nod at him or give him a thumbs up or wink at him. Like, that's exactly what we worked on. That's the play. And Jeff said that is the feeling he got then was better than any feeling he got as a head coach or as a player on the field making a play. And he's like, wait, maybe I should get into coaching. And it's been a rough ride for him, but this is an opportunity for him. He wants to prove that he can be a head coach in this league. He talked about it when they were back at the Senior Bowl, that he got an opportunity to coach there. And he said, look, this is something that I've wanted to do. This can prepare me for what this is going to be like. So this is a crazy week. I don't know if they're going to come out, maybe with all the hecticness and all the craziness, they actually come out flat and they don't look great. But I expect him to be with his head on fire. The players want to play for him. The players want to prove that the owner made the right move, right? They got the head coach fired at the end of the day. The players did. The players didn't play well enough to keep the head coach. The players want to prove that the owner made the right decision, that the players can still salvage the season. They should come out with their head on fire against the Bills in a division game, playing for first place tonight. Quickly, before we move on, shout out to melon.com. This hat that I'm wearing, they sent me and Bleav some merch. Great hats. If you want to get one of these hats, you go to melin.com. They're extremely durable, great shape, great color. You see this, they have like this breathable thing to it, this little breathable mesh. So when you wash them, they don't smell. They don't make your head sweaty. They're excellent material, great hats, the best hats you'll ever want to wear. You can wear them out on the golf course, wear them on a date night, wear them on a live stream talking about the Jets. Maybe I'll wear them to the Jets game tonight. Melon, melin.com to get yours. Let's look at some of the comments people are writing in the comments. So let's get to one of them. Jets are so bad, shouldn't even be a franchise. Giants and Bills, the only teams New York needs. Send this bum O team to an international city for expansion. By the way, I wouldn't mind. Thank you for that, Alien Labs. Thank you for that beautiful comment. I appreciate the comments. Any comments are appreciated. So even that comment is appreciated. I'll tell you this. If Woody Johnson decided he wanted to move the team to London because he's so into London, take him. But that's besides the point. All right, so I'm going to do something a little bit interesting. I don't know if I should do this, but we'll see. We'll decide if we want to. We will decide if we want to do this. I'm going to drop a link in the description below. Look below, and you could call in. We can join. We could do a little call in. Give me your. I want just 2 minutes. I'm going to kick you out after a minute. So 60 seconds. Give me your prediction for tonight's game. So if anyone wants to join, hit that link that I just added into the description below, just in the comments, check it out. And then you can join this stream and then you'll be on the podcast and all that stuff. So hit that if you want to join, if you want to call in, I guess. I think that's the best way to do it. I don't know if there's another way to get people to call in, but that's how I'm going to do it. So hit that link below in the comments if you want to join. For a quick second, we'll just ask you quick thoughts, preview of the game, and then we'll move on. Make sure your microphone and camera are working because we don't want to drag down the stream with people trying to figure out technical difficulties. While we work on that, if anyone wants to join, it's in there. If anyone doesn't want to join, that's fine too. Hassan Reddick has hired a new agent. So Drew Rosenhaus, which you might know, you might recognize that name. He was in the news famously for being the agent of Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's agent, who obviously came to his defense when Tyreek Hill was pulled over after that wild situation, a situation that was really super, super interesting. So that's where you might know the name. I expect the Jets to get the job done. I expect this to go well. He's going to be at the game tonight, so I expect him to be with the team moving forward. They're still looking for a long-term deal. That's what it says. He said, we're looking for a long-term deal with Hassan Reddick. He wants to be a Jet for years to come. So I think they work out a deal, honestly, but we'll see what happens moving forward. I think this is good news for the Jets, but that story that came out last week that his agents, Hassan didn't fire his agents fired him. Doesn't that tell you that the Jets were on the right side of this the whole time? The Jets made the trade. They talked to the agent. They talked to the Eagles. And they knew what they were doing with Hassan Reddick. They made the right move. The only person that apparently who decided that he didn't want to be a part of this was Hassan Reddick. So when he decided, I don't want to be with the Jets. I'm not going to sign the contract. His agent wanted him to sign it. He wanted to, or the Jets wanted him to sign it. The Eagles thought he would sign the contract. The Jets actually offered, and this came out on early Sunday morning. Ian Rappaport reported the Jets offered Hassan Reddick a new contract for this year as a one-year deal with more money. Previously, it had been reported that they had offered him more guaranteed money. They converted some of the salary into a bonus, so that would be more guaranteed money up front. And then Rappaport said, no, they offered him a contract with more money. He could have played this year for more money. Instead, he's losing all this money because he turned that down before the season started. Now his agent decided, I'm out. Sorry, Hassan. We can't deal with this anymore. You're fired. So now he's got a new agent who's going to be on the sideline, sure, because we need more things added to the Jets circus. Now there's going to be an agent on the sideline at the game tonight watching over. I don't know if Hassan will be there, but let's get this deal done if you're the New York Jets, because if they win tonight and they're in first place in the division, all of a sudden the outlook on the season totally changes. Oh my God, the Jets are in first place in the division. We could actually get something done. We could actually have a great season, and they can only really go as far as they want to go with Hassan Reddick. The defensive line has not gotten enough pressure. It's been nice. Will McDonald has been a nice surprise, but still, obviously, when you look across and you see Jermaine Johnson and his injury, he's not back yet. And by the way, speaking of injury, did anyone see that Aiden Hutchinson injury? That was yikes. Hard to watch. One of those, I mean, his foot was like dangling. I'm one of those people who like, that's disgusting. I can't watch that. And then I watched it 15 times in a row, sent it to every single person I know. I was on the phone with my father and we are like, oh, I'm like, you have to watch. He's like, I'm not watching. My father's a doctor. He can he's seen disgusting things more than I have. And he couldn't handle it. He's like, no, don't want to watch that. I'm like, okay, fine, sure, whatever. Do yourself a favor, check it out if you haven't seen the video. Maybe I'll drop that in the description as well. But again, call in if you want to call in the description down below, or not the description, but the comments down below. I dropped a link to call in. But if you needed something to add to the Jets circus, Hassan Reddick and his agent trying to get a new deal done while the Jets are playing Monday Night Football in the rematch of the game that Aaron Rodgers got hurt last year against the Bills for first place 5 days after they fired their head coach and replaced the offensive coordinator, who, by the way, what happens now with Nate Hackett? Like, I've seen all the memes, him just as the coffee guy. Oh, Nate Hackett's a great guy. He wanted to stay. Of course, he wanted to stay on. He's getting paid. What was he just going to leave? He's never going to get another job in the NFL again if he leaves. At least if he stays on and the Jets actually do well, Rodgers can keep giving him credit. Downing can give him credit. Maybe he saves some sort of face, but the way it stands, if he would have just left again, he couldn't make it work with his guy, Aaron Rodgers, which, by the way, no secret, Matt LaFleur was calling the plays when Rodgers won those 2 MVPs. So Rodgers give all the credit in the world to Nate Hackett. Maybe he is a great guy. I've never met him. From all accounts, he sounds like a great guy. People love him. I talk to Tiki all the time. Tiki loves Nate Hackett. Okay. He's not a good offensive coordinator. He's not a very smart football guy. So he could be a great guy. Him and Rodgers could do their gold rush memes on the sideline, but we need someone who could actually run an offense and call an offense. And unfortunately, that's not Nate Hackett. So I'm not sure what he's doing there anymore. But if we needed any more drama added to this, Hassan Reddick, perfect. Just pile it on. All right. And actually, I had a question. So I wonder if I could put a poll below. I'm not sure how to do this, if I can add a poll, but I want to see people's comments below. What do you think is more likely? And comment your answer below. With the week the Jets had, how crazy would it be? So here's my 2 options. With the week the Jets have had and the crazy week they've had, it felt like this season already, and it's only 5 weeks in, has felt like a crazy season. And they're playing for first place. So this game could go in so many different directions. Based on this game, the outcome of the season can vary. We could end up with making the playoffs, going on a run, all that, or it could go totally to the opposite extreme and the Jets get totally knocked out and they end up being, I don't know, a 5-win team this season. I could see both scenarios. So I'm going to put 2 scenarios in front of you, and I wish I could find out what the gambling odds are on each of these 2 scenarios. But the 2 scenarios, 1, the Jets make the AFC Championship game, or 2, things get so bad, Aaron Rodgers decides my body can't hold up. I'm getting nicks and bruises, injured every game. We're terrible. I don't know. We're 5-10. I'm out. I'm retired. The end. Goodbye. I'm done with football. What do you think is more likely? The Jets win tonight and it catapults them and their season all of a sudden takes off and they go to an AFC Championship game? Or Rodgers, now the truth, let's be honest, the reality is probably somewhere in the middle. But things get so bad that Rodgers decides to retire midseason. I wonder what the odds are. So comment below what you think. Do you think things get so bad Rodgers decides to retire midseason? Or alternatively, the Jets end up righting the ship and they make it to the AFC Championship game. Which one do you think is more likely? And like I said, the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. The team goes 9-8 and loses in a wild card game. That's probably what happens with this Jets season at this point. If I had to predict what happens the rest of the way, I don't know if they win tonight. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But the point is, it'll probably continue to be a seesaw and a roller coaster. They go 9-8, lose in a wild card game, and Rodgers and Douglas and everyone's gone next year, and they totally start from scratch. That's what I would guess would happen at this point. But anything can happen. And I think this season, with how extreme it's been, I could see them going to the AFC Championship game, righting the ship. They have the talent to do it. Hassan Reddick comes in here. They win tonight. They ultimately go on to win the division. They go to the AFC Championship game. What's up, Julian? Which one? Julian, I see you in there. Jets got to win tonight. I agree. If you want to pop on here, by the way, you could hit the link. Yo, Julian, I got a question for you. You ready? I don't know if you were in here when I just posed this question. What do you think is more likely? The Jets make the AFC Championship game, go on a run, or alternatively, it gets so bad Rodgers decides to retire before the season is over? Those are the two options. I'm kind of interested to see what people think. If I could do a poll, I would, but I'm not sure how to do that. So those two things. And by the way, speaking of the odds, because I wish we could get odds on that, like odds on what Rodgers retiring midseason is, or odds on the Jets to make the AFC Championship game is. But if you're looking for odds, I'm sure you can find them on Bet Online. So go to Bet Online today, because they have all the best odds, spreads, in-game, pre-game, to bet on during the games. Bet Online. The game starts here. Use the code Bleav when you go to Bet Online for a deposit match. You could also get in. They have a $200,000 mega contest. You could win a share of $200,000. So go to Bet Online. And by the way, they have an online casino, which is great. You can play poker, slots, any of those things. Tonight, a couple of bets that I like. Somebody sent this to me actually on Twitter, so shout out. Gleyber Torres has great numbers. He has 3 hits off Alex Cobb, as the Yankees are playing a playoff game tonight too. He has 3 hits off Alex Cobb. 2 of them are home runs. So Gleyber Torres to homer tonight. I like that. But I think Aaron Judge is going to break out. So if you parlay Breece Hall to score a touchdown for the Jets tonight and Aaron Judge to hit a home run for the New York Yankees tonight, you can get like plus 600 odds. Go to Bet Online, bet it, and get in the game. Great sponsor, Bet Online. Thank you for sponsoring the podcast. So now we will turn to our Jets game preview. So the line on the game is plus 1.5. The over-under in the game, 40.5. I think there's going to be more points than this. Let's start with my X factor. And I asked Bleav to send me his, but he didn't. So he's coaching right now. And I was going to ask Bleav also why he got into coaching. Similar, I wonder if he has that Patrick Willis story, right? Like that Patrick Willis story that Jeff Ulbrich told is awesome to me. Like a moment that clicked for him. They felt like, oh, doing it for other people. It's similar to, and I don't want to, it's interesting. I've always wanted to be a host and on air and stuff like that. And I continue to, and I love it. But when I produce the morning show, specifically that show, because that's a show I grew up listening to on WFAN, it was almost more thrilling than hosting some of the shows I've gotten to host on WFAN, because watching that show come together and you're working on it and you're a part of it and you're hitting, some of the drops and making some of these magical moments as the show goes on and being a part of it, creating something great. And you're just behind the scenes, but you're helping create something great. And watching 2 people as great as Boomer and Greg are at executing it was one of the coolest things I've gotten to do in this industry. So as much as I love hosting the shows, that almost felt even more special, probably because it was the show I grew up listening to and all that. But I wonder if that's a similar feeling where Jeff Ulbrich was like, anything I've done on the field, it's more amazing, these things that I got, watching Patrick Willis go out and execute something we worked on all week. I don't know if you answered this already. Julian is asking a question. But do you think Reddick getting Drew as his agent makes a resolution more likely? Yes, I think if it doesn't make a resolution less likely. I think Hassan Reddick has to, and I talked about this a little earlier, but for Julian, I got you. I think, it can't get worse right now. His agent fired him. Like Hassan Reddick has to look in the mirror and say, I'm the problem. I need to be better. And I think he's going to look in the mirror and say, I just hired a new agent because my agent just got fired. Drew gets stuff done. He's going to go get it done for me. We saw him with the cops with the Tyreek Hill situation. He got him out of handcuffs and on the field within 5 seconds and into the end zone that game. Last time Tyreek Hill scored, I think, because guess what? Without Tua Tagovailoa, that offense is totally fallen apart. He might come back later this season. It'll be typical Jets for him to come back by the time the Jets play him. The Jets don't play him until they play him twice late in the season, of course. Now that Tua's out for the whole first part of the season, the Jets are going to get them twice later in the season, typical Jets. But that's besides the point. I do think this does ultimately lead to resolution because Hassan Reddick, it was announced on Sunday, was offered more guaranteed money this year and turned it down. And in the end, is just losing money every single week. It doesn't make sense for him to keep losing money. Eventually, he's got to show up. And we're getting to the point, if he misses 8 weeks this season, if he misses the first 8 games, then the Jets have his rights to next year too. So he has to show up in the next couple of weeks. So I assume he'll be there within a week or two. That's the only way this gets resolved. So back to the game. The line is plus 1.5 for the Jets, which again, it used to be 2.5. It went down to plus 1.5. The over under the game, 40.5. My X factor in this game is twofold. One, Morgan Moses coming back. We have to see a good offensive line performance. I talked about it earlier. We have to see the Jets control the line of scrimmage with no Ed Oliver for the Bills. Their defense running the run stop hasn't been good. The only guy with a sack on their team this year is Ed Oliver. He's the only guy with the sack on their team. I'm pretty sure I saw that. So the Jets should control the offensive line, need to control the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of the ball. So Morgan Moses is one of my X factors. And the other one is Aaron Rodgers, because part of controlling the line of scrimmage is your quarterback helping you out, getting to the line quickly, reading the play, reading what the defense is doing, understanding, use more motion. They used it in the New England game and then totally went away from it. I don't know why this offense looked so good in the New England game and it took 3 steps backwards the last couple of weeks. It makes no sense to me. I need Aaron Rodgers to be Aaron Rodgers. I need him. If we need a play to be made, bail us out. Look, again, I hated that this team was built on, Aaron Rodgers, bail us out. But now it's time. Aaron Rodgers, bail us out because we need your help. You have a chip on your shoulder. Your head coach just got fired. Your friend just got demoted. Show up and show why this team is still worth rooting for and win a game against the Bills. So Aaron Rodgers and Morgan Moses are my X factors in this game. My touchdown score in this. My touchdown score is going to be, and I see we have a call waiting, so I'll get to the call in a minute. My touchdown score in this game is Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall is going to be excellent in this game because, like I said, the Jets are going to run the ball, and Breece Hall is going to score a touchdown. And I'll give my final score prediction in a minute, but first let's get to the call. We got Connor Long. Let's see if we could get you up here. Connor, what's up, dude?
How you doing, man?
Yo, what's going on?
Not much. Looking forward to the game tonight. Big game. I think the Jets will prevail, but it's going to be really interesting to see how they match up against the Bills. You mentioned Breece Hall there. That was actually what I was going to say. You look at the Jets' rushing numbers; they've been so weak, just especially these past few weeks. Obviously, the whole season, the first 5 games, but especially against both the Vikings and the Broncos. Bills present a really weak rush defense, Rami. You mentioned Breece Hall there, but what about Braylon Allen? How do you see that duo performing today?
Britt, that's a great question, Connor. By the way, Connor does a great job. You just plug your podcast real quick because this kid is awesome. He was on the Rich Eisen show. Everyone go follow Connor. He's awesome. So you can plug your stuff for a minute.
Well, I do appreciate it, Rami. You can find me at NYFlightJets, at NYFlightJets Talk on YouTube, Twitter, and then you could read my work, jetsxfactor.com. So, yes, I do really appreciate that.
Yeah, to answer your question, I think Braylon Allen's huge in this game, but I think it's such a Breece Hall game. I think the narrative around Breece Hall has shifted to what is this guy doing? And there were a couple of runs last game, and Bleav and I talked about this when looking at the All-22. Like, Bleav played running back in the league, right? He understands. He said he just doesn't look confident. Like, he's the first sign of contact, he's going down. He's seeing the hole, but he's not going through the hole. There are so many things in this game that are happening that feels like Breece is hesitant. I think Breece needs to wake up, and the narrative around him has been so negative. I think Breece needs to wake up and say, okay, I'm going to burst in the hole. I'm going to go find the holes in this game. And the other thing is with Braylon Allen, I think, and I like this bet, and we're going to put this out at some point, 6 bets for tonight from Bet Online. So I one of the bets that I include is Braylon Allen. I think his number is 34.5 rushing yards. I like Braylon Allen over 34.5 rushing yards in this game.
Yeah, I think it shows they're 2 of the best.
So there are 2 things that I love. It's Braylon Allen over 34.5, and I love Breece to score a touchdown. Connor, what's your final score prediction?
It's an interesting one here because you look, both teams are coming off really depleting losses. I mean, you look last week for the Bills, 23-20 loss to the Texans. Josh Allen completed just 9 of his 30 passing attempts. So that's really dicey. Both teams are, kind of at a really low point right now. Coaching change. I think there is a culture change in the New York Jets organization. I think that shows today. I expect big things out of CJ Mosley. He's returning. I expect, there's been all this, okay, you need to put Jamie and Sherwood out, bench Mosley. I think he proves those critics wrong. He has a great game. Overall, I said 28-24 Jets. I think that'll be the final score tonight.
28-24 Jets. That's what we have from Connor. Connor, appreciate you joining. All right. Anyone else want to join? We do have the number, or I guess the call-in link down there below. Everyone can join, call in to the show. So I appreciate Connor for calling. I just put it in the comments again. You could just pop right in, just like we did with Connor. In the meantime, I'm going to give my final score prediction. And like Connor said, I think the Jets come out on fire. I think they find a way to run the ball. I think the Jets have to execute. We know the new head coach bump. We've seen it in the past. This is where you follow through on it. Prove that the head coach made, or the owner made, the right decision, trusting the team. I think this was a trust in the team by Woody Johnson saying, I'm going to back the team by firing the head coach and say, look, this season is still alive. We could still get a lot done. Why wait till after the Buffalo game when it's already over, when the Jets season is cooked, to make a move? I'm going to make a move right now. He made the move, and the Jets players have to prove him why I think the Jets come out head on fire, get out to a big lead, something they never do under Robert Saleh. I think the Jets win 31-20. I think they put up 4 touchdowns. I think they hold the Bills to 20 points. By the way, next week, I think they lose in Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football, because that's the roller coaster ride of the Jets season. That's what happens. By the way, the Jets next week, this is just so mind-boggling to me. Pittsburgh plays the same freaking game every week. It's like, how do they not have 50 points? They have so many blown opportunities. Their defense is stifling, though. They feel like they have the ball the entire game. It's just gross, nasty, boring to watch football. I don't want the Jets to get into one of those games, but that's next week. We'll talk about that next week. For now, the Jets are going to win. That's my prediction. The Jets are going to beat the Bills on Monday Night Football, 31-20. For everyone who was in here watching, if you're listening right now to the podcast, I appreciate you all for listening. Like, subscribe, share the podcast. Help us out by going to our sponsors, melon.com. Go to, obviously, Bet Online if you want any insight, and great insight on betting the game. So many different things you can do. If you support our sponsors, it helps support us. So do all that stuff. Bleav in Jets. Rami Lavi. Till next time. See ya.